Hello everybody and welcome. We all love it when we make a great selection which was underrated, and at the same time hate it when we either overreach for a player too soon or flat out make a pick which vastly underperforms. These guys can make or break your pool. Today's video will look at some of those players from the 2023-24 season. So let's get into it. These 34 players made the NHL's top 100 players based on their point totals last season and were underranked by the guides. The table is sorted by the largest average number of positions based on the 54 lists collected, plus last year's and the 3-year rankings. As you can see, Gustav Nyquist was the most underrated player of the bunch. The columns on the right-hand side indicate how the guides evaluated these players over the last 3 years. There are a few who seem to be undervalued repeatedly. Others might have been underrated as a reaction to an over-evaluation the season before. Could it be that most of the players on this list simply are coming off an injury? That would explain about a third of the list. Another third are players who did not perform as well as expected. Even if they were underrated, it didn't leave enough of an impression with the guide's authors to bump them up in their projections. Then the last third looked like they were disliked because of what team they were on. All this is based on the averages. On this slide, we have the earliest or highest ranking the player received, the guide which made that call, and how many other guides were within striking distance. The ranks in green highlight that these players were taken after their true NHL rank, which means they were a pleasant surprise for their owners, if you were able to select them. That is why I've indicated how many other guides were within a draft round of picking that player. Depending on the draft order, someone else could have snagged that underrated player from you. The ones in white basically gave exactly what the owners thought they would get. The ones in red, however, were overpriced, even though the general consensus felt that the player was underrated. At best, they were overreaches. These would cause you trouble. We will switch over to the overprojected players who still made it within the NHL's top 100 list. And I'll denote the players who were hampered by injuries, which were only 3. If the player was older, it looks like the authors were giving them too much credit for their success over their careers and did not adjust for a decline. The guides also wanted to catch younger players for a potential breakout, which did not materialize. We again look at the guides which had the earliest rank and how many others were within range. First thing to observe, these players were going to be taken within the first 3 rounds. Anyone doing so was going to miss on their opportunity by digging themselves an early hole. Another thing to note are the players who have a great deal of projections within the range. The hype on those players was strong. For the players that had only 1 or 2 guides value them so highly, they misread the appetite from the others or were vastly wrong in their projection. But those were not all the overrated players. The next list of 29 players didn't make the top 100, and for most of them it was due to injury. A good portion were over projections from the year before, so it might be the guides were wishing for an idyllic but delayed justification for their previous forecast. What about the earliest ranks? There is a big difference when compared to the players who made the top 100. With the exception of Tage Thompson and Andrei Svechnikov, these overprojections had somewhere between 1 and 4 guides who rated them so valuable, whereas the players on the top 100 had many guide authors want them too early. We circle back to the underrated skaters who did not crack the top 100 to see how the guides did with this group. We notice 2 things immediately. First, even in this group, there is some overreaching taking place. Second, that even really good picks can be made late in a draft, but that they are only good for long drafts. These are the players highlighted with orange in their earliest rank column. So while the projection beats all others, it goes unrealized in short drafts. Even the selections in green are only useful for about half of our draft testing, because they were picked in drafts of 20+ rounds. To be clear, this summary is based only on the players which were illustrated within this video. There are many more who just did not fit the criteria, but still were over and under projections. This summary does illustrate that early misses are found with the guides and lists which did not perform as well in the 8-owner Kessel Run Draftathon. The top 2 guides had potentially great opportunities. Datsuk to Zetterberg theoretically gets Sam Reinhart and Roman Josi back-to-back in the 4th and 5th rounds, while Robert Coho picks up Frank Vetrano somewhere after the 20th round. That does generally fit with what we observed in their draft results. We also see the impacts of overreaching and of waiting too long for a player. In the first case, the missed opportunity is booked immediately, and in the second case, the good opportunity is not realized in short drafts. Lastly, all hope is not lost for those who did not do well last season. A new season brings new opportunity. Big jumps can be made. It has been done before, and it can be done again. We are now going to be focused on collecting all the new guides and lists for the 2024-25 season. We will go back to our deeper research once the NHL regular season kicks off. We wish you tremendous good luck in your pools this year.